gas is dropped from planes either as a spray or in gas bombs. But should enemy raiders use gas against your community, there is no reason for fear or panic. Because if you know what to do, you can protect yourself and safeguard your family against the menace of gas from the air.
July 1917 in Ypres, Belgium. A faint, yellow-brown cloud begins to settle over the British lines. It smells strangely like garlic, but within hours, skin begins to bubble into massive blisters, and lungs begin to melt from the inside out. This was mustard gas, the most dreaded weapon of the Great War, designed for one purpose and one only: total cellular destruction. It is a true masterpiece of cruelty, but the same mechanism that made it a weapon of mass murder would, decades later, become a weapon of hope. Today, we explore how by tweaking the poison that once haunted the war trenches, one of history's greatest horrors became the foundation of modern chemotherapy. Inside every cell in your body, your DNA is constantly unzipping and copying itself so your cells can divide. This is how you grow and heal. Mustard gas is what scientists call an alkylating agent, or simply a molecular handcuff. It attaches a chemical group to the DNA base, specifically guanine, like a piece of gum getting stuck in the teeth of a zipper, physically preventing the DNA from unzipping. If the DNA can't unzip, the cell can't divide. It effectively handcuffs the cycle of life. For a soldier in 1917, this meant their skin and lungs couldn't repair themselves, leading to those horrific blisters. But for a cancer patient with a tumor that is dividing out of control, those handcuffs are exactly what stopped the cancer from spreading. By 1917, soldiers thought they knew how to survive gas attacks. You put on your mask, you wait for the cloud to pass, and you carry on. But mustard gas, dubbed the king of the battle gases, changed the rules of engagement. Why? Because it was persistent. While other gases blew away with the wind, mustard gas settled into the mud and the floor of the trenches like an invisible, oily dew. It could stay active for days, even weeks. If a soldier sat on a wooden plank or leaned against a trench wall where a shell had landed, they were already dead. They just didn't know it yet. They will not feel a thing until 12 hours later. Then, their eyes would turn bloodshot and begin to burn. Skin would erupt in massive, yellow, fluid-filled blisters, vesicles, particularly in moist areas like the armpits, and if inhaled, the lungs are gone. In December 1943, the Allied port of Bari, Italy, was packed with ships. One of them, the SS John Harvey, was carrying a secret cargo, 2,000 mustard gas bombs. The US kept this a secret even from their own doctors, as a just-in-case retaliation weapon against Germany. On December 2, 1943, the German Air Force launched a surprise raid on the harbor of Bari. It was a massacre. 17 ships were sunk, but the real nightmare was invisible. When the SS John Harvey exploded, it released tons of liquid mustard gas into the water and a thick, toxic smoke into the air. Thousands of sailors were pulled from the oily water. They were wrapped in warm blankets, which unknowingly trapped the gas against their skin. But then, a strange medical phenomenon began to baffle the doctors. Patients weren't just suffering from burns, their bodies were reacting in a way no one had ever seen. A US Army doctor named Colonel Cornelius Rhodes was sent to investigate. He noticed that the survivors had a catastrophic drop in their white blood cell counts, specifically lymphocytes. Their bodies had stopped producing blood cells entirely. Rhodes realized that the gas hadn't just attacked their skin, it had targeted their bone marrow, the engine room of cell production. At the same time, two pharmacologists at Yale, Louis Goodman and Alfred Gilman, were experimenting with a slightly different version: nitrogen mustard. They had a theory. If nitrogen mustard could wipe out white blood cells in soldiers, could it wipe out lymphoma, a cancer of the white blood cells? In 1942, they met a patient. He was dying, riddled with tumors. They gave him a synthetic injection of the poison. Within days, his tumors, massive growths on his neck, began to shrink. It was the first time in history a chemical was successfully used to treat a systemic cancer. They called the drug mustine. That began the age of chemotherapy. The patient's recovery didn't last forever. His cancer eventually returned, but the door had been kicked open. Scientists realized that if they could tweak the structure of nitrogen mustard, they could create a whole family of alkylating agents. Today, drugs like cyclophosphamide and chlorambucil are direct chemical descendants of that 1917 poison. We took a weapon designed to end life and re-engineered it to save it. It's a haunting reminder that in the world of pharmaceuticals, the difference between a poison and a cure is often just the intent and the dose.